What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Royal Figures YouTube channel, man. We are here, man. We are here. As you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, today we're going to be talking about Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson. There's going to be several layers based off on facts, based off on some of the stories we're going to be reading today on several articles, and I'm going to give you my analysis, my perspective, my take on it. But first and foremost, man, I really appreciate all the engagement. Everybody has been engaging with my YouTube content, on the verge of reaching 10,000 subscribers, and just for me, staying consistent, and being consistent with my content. I definitely like my subscribers. Even, only thing I ask on my comments is that your comments are respectful, but you have full right to disagree with my perspective. That's your right. Just like I have the right to disagree with your perspective, and just to be able to read your thoughts and your perspective. It was good reading your comments on the last video I did pertaining to USC, the Gamecocks versus the LSU Tigers. So with that being said, let's kind of go ahead and get into it with Russell Wilson. First and foremost, there was a comment that was made with Russell Wilson with Sean Payton when he came on to the scene. And I'm not sure if all of my subscribers or listeners remember the comment that he made. This was early on with the professional relationship that is supposed to be between Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. And in this article, they said on that message that Sean Payton was trying to give Russell Wilson a wake-up call. Now, let's kind of get into the comments that was made. But in this article, it was said or mentioned from Sean Payton's camp is that Sean Payton was looking to reinvigorate Russell Wilson's career. The same goes for Russell Wilson, which is why the quarterback and coaching duo seems like a match made in heaven. But Sean Payton had looked to be more eager about more postseason success than NFL season success more than ever. So this is the reason and why they were saying that he was making that comment. So let's kind of go into it on the comment that Sean Payton had made. He said to Sean Payton that, will you effing stop kissing all the babies? Now, Sean Payton said regarding Wilson, who was focusing too much on Russell Incorporated, the Broncos coach also said, now listen to this. He said, will you effing stop kissing all the babies? You're not running for public office. Now, when Sean Payton made that statement, I was taken back by that statement from so many perspectives. I feel it was rude. I feel it was disrespectful. I feel it was distasteful. And it was almost on the lines, I have to agree with Ryan Clark, when Ryan Clark had mentioned on another statement that Sean Payton had did when he was arguing. Remember when he was arguing with Russell Wilson on the sideline? Remember that, y'all? Remember when he was arguing? I mean, he was just livid. You can tell, you could see his veins in his neck, and just how Sean Payton was really giving it to Russell Wilson from so many levels. And the reason why I want to talk about that situation is because At what point do you give respect to another man? You're just coming into the organization as a head coach. Russell Wilson has already put his stamp and got, you know, acclimated to the Denver Bronco way. And I understand that the Denver Broncos were struggling and Russell Wilson wasn't really playing that good. But at the same token, let's think about it for a moment. How would you feel if you had a boss that comes in, just coming in, just got hired, and your boss makes statements like that? Now, Russell Wilson, in my eyes, in my perspective, has done a great job in separating what he does off the field and focus on what he needs to do on the field. Now, I think it's very important, and I'll be very remiss if I don't say this, is that it takes more than just a quarterback to win football games. In all facets in just NFL professional sports, you definitely have to make sure that everybody is doing their thing on that football field. That means from the offensive line, that means from the defensive line, that means from the defense, from the cornerbacks, the defensive backs, that means from your wide receivers, your running back, your tight end, and even the offensive coach, the defensive coach, the special teams coach, your special teams. Everything goes into winning football. Every category needs to be hitting on all cylinders. And the Denver Broncos just wasn't successful enough, and that's why they were struggling. But the caveat, listen to what I'm about to say, y'all. The caveat of the situation is that they still was in the hunt of making the playoffs. And then when you have Sean Payton comes in and says the type of negative things to that extent, it makes you wonder, he didn't respect Russell Wilson from the beginning. To make some of the statements and to do some of the things outwardly in front of his peers, in front of this team that he is leading, and I'm talking about Russell Wilson. Then you have the coach that the imaging that you are selling, the imaging that you're portraying as a head coach is that you're tearing down a man in front of his peers. How would you feel if your boss was tearing you down and arguing at you and just yelling at you at the top of their lungs in front of your coworkers? I guarantee that you would not like that at all. I guarantee that you possibly would have said possibly would have said some words back. Am I right? Am I right, y'all? If anybody agree with that, put some comments in the actual YouTube chat. Put some comments in there. Let me go ahead and, because I definitely wanted to talk about this situation from so many perspectives. So many perspectives. I want to talk about this. And I think it's so very important to talk about, because when he made those statements, I remember saying to myself, like, no, that's not even right. This dude told Russell Wilson, will you effing stop kissing all the babies? You're not running for public office. So if his prerogative is what he does, if what he does off the field, if what Russell Wilson was doing off the field affected you that much to comment in a professional setting relating to his job, and you want to criticize the man for showing affection to children for his nonprofit organization, and then you want to say that he's not running for public office, I dare you to make comments like that. The audacity, the privilege that he felt that he had open lines of communication that he can just treat Russell Wilson any way that he wanted. And for me, that is disrespectful. For me, that is distasteful. And for me, that does not show someone who would you want to go and fight for because of his agenda on how he disrespected the leader of the team, which is the quarterback, which is Russell Wilson. They wasn't playing well. I get that. But let's kind of break it down. At the end of the day, like I said, you can't just put all the blame on Russell Wilson. And if you want to put blame on Russell Wilson, there is a proper way in going about that. There is a way that you do things in decency and in order. And the problem is, man, that shit that Sean Payton pulled on several occasions was uncalled for. And it wasn't done in decency and in order, and he was doing it deliberately to cut him up, to disrespect him, and to make him feel less than a leader. And that's not the type of environment that you want to foster when you're trying to build a Super Bowl team. And don't think that other players wasn't watching what he was doing. And I wish more players would have had spoke up on behalf of Russell Wilson that plays on that team, that plays on that field with him, and be more vocal in saying how disrespectful that his antics was in the comments that he was making about Russell Wilson, and also the antics he was doing on the field was very disrespectful. And I didn't appreciate that. So that's one level of caveat that I wanted to make sure that I bring to discussion. Now, let's get into it in this other part where there was another situation where Sean Payton called out Russell Wilson. Now, this was when the Denver Broncos was 0-2. Now, this is what Sean Payton has said. He said that we have to be better. I have to be better. Sean Payton lamented after his team's lamented. Sean Payton lamented after his team's 35-33 loss to the Washington Commanders. Now, let's go into what he was saying. He said there were a number of drives where we were late with personnel. Getting out of the huddle, we took a while. That has to change. We had to burn timeouts in the first half, and I'm not used to that. Now, look at this, what he was saying about the coach. That was the coach for the Denver Broncos. Before Sean Payton went into coaching the Denver Broncos, he sharply criticized his predecessor, Nathaniel Hackett. He called Nathaniel Hackett's lone season in charge in Denver one of the worst coaching jobs in the history of the NFL. So look at what's going on here. You're already making comments about the head coach. And when I mentioned about the Denver Broncos are 0-2 by the thinnest margin, but head coach Sean Payton isn't delivering pep talks. In fact, he has his sights set on the quarterback Russell Wilson after another close loss. So I don't know if actually he actually started the season as the head coach, but what I'm saying, nevertheless, there were some things that he was not happy about with the team. And I understand, and I get it. When you're a new head coach, this is what you sign up for. This is what you get paid a big bag for. But it's how you go about it, right? It's how you communicate. And you have to make sure that you're not rubbing people the wrong way. And his type of thuggish behavior, and I'm taking this from Ryan Clark when he had called Sean Payton a thug. And I had enjoyed that statement when Ryan Clark had said, because what Sean Payton and his attitude, his antics and the way and the environment that he was creating, a hostile environment. Because like Ryan Clark said, Russell Wilson will forever be a better man than me. And what Ryan Clark was saying, that there ain't no way, boy, that I would allow you to talk to me in that fashion. And this is not a knock on Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson is a class act. And I think this is why I wanted to talk about this, because the stuff that Russell Wilson had to deal with as a quarterback. And let me tell you something. Russell Wilson had all right to fire back at Sean Payton. Russell Wilson had all right to stand up for himself as a man, not just as a quarterback and the leader of that team, but as a man. Hey, man, if you got a problem with me, let's deal with it like men. But what we not going to do is have you with these antics of yelling and making these sarcastic remarks in the media, whether it's pregame or postgame, and having you undermining me as the leader of this football team. Russell Wilson has that right to say that because he has played his ass off, whether you like it or not. At the end of the day, Russell Wilson is a Super Bowl quarterback. Let me say this again. Russell Wilson is a Super Bowl quarterback. Period. Now, they had an 0-3 start. 0-3. Now, let's kind of go into it. Now, this was the narrative during the season of the Denver Broncos as they was losing games. And we all know when you lose games, a lot of negativity happens in the atmosphere, right? That's common. But I always say it's how you manage it. It's how you respond. It's how you deal with it is what is important. Now, in this article, every time the winless Denver Broncos lose a game, the question is raised. Is the relationship between Russell Wilson and Sean Payton just not working? Now, that tells you a lot right there within itself, that there were some things that was fostering that you can see on the field, and definitely what was fostering off the field. This will let you know this ain't just started out the blue. I firmly believe Sean Payton did not believe in Russell Wilson enough for him to remain the quarterback for his team. I believe Sean Payton wanted him gone, and I don't think there was nothing ever Russell Wilson could have did about it. Now, sure, losing does affect you in so many ways. Losing does not make things good. But at the same token, there's a lot that goes into building a football team. And it just wasn't on Russell Wilson's shoulders that deserved all of the blame that Sean Payton was putting him on. All the blame is the reason why they was on an 0-3 start. I'm just going to say that right there. Now, let's look at this. Sean Payton called out the players involved in the passing game, including Russell Wilson, after a terrible night versus the Chiefs. Now, some people will say that's the coach, but let me say this. When you do things like that openly and you're doing it consistently, what type of leadership are you trying to convey? Is that what you do when things are not going your way? You throw a hissy fit? You actually crucify people publicly? That's up for debate. Y'all let me know in the comment section. Now, this is what Sean Payton told the reporters after their loss. To win in our league, you've got to be better throwing the ball. We all know who he talking about. He talking about Russell Wilson. He's talking about Russell Wilson. Now, let me say this. Let me be very clear. This was when now the Broncos was with a 1-5 record, and there are no easy answers for Sean Payton on how to cure this ailing Broncos offense. You have to do things on what's in the best interests of what's going to put your Super Bowl winning quarterback in the best position to win and to win at a high level. You can't treat him like Drew Brees. Russell Wilson is not Drew Brees, and Drew Brees is definitely not Russell Wilson. If y'all agree with me, let me know in the comment section. We're breaking this thing down because it's so very important. Now, this is when Robert Griffin III Now, you think I was pissed off in what I was seeing on how Sean Payton was treating Russell Wilson. Robert Griffin III was very pissed off. And he let it be known publicly how he didn't appreciate how Sean Payton was coming in as the new head coach and how he was making it a point every chance he get to rip up Russell Wilson. Let's kind of get into it with this article. Now, as I say, the Broncos at this time was 1-5, right? After they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, in this article, they say that former Offensive Rookie of the Year, Robert Griffin III, slammed Sean Payton for his lack of support to Russell Wilson following the game. Now, this is what Russell Wilson had posted and tweeted, as you can see right here. He said the Denver Broncos, let me go to this tweet. He said that the Denver Broncos aren't playing to win football games. They are playing to win the blame game. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? He said they are playing to win the blame game. That's what happens when Sean Payton comes in throwing shade at his Super Bowl winning quarterback, Russell Wilson, every chance he gets. The locker room will implode because no one in it believes the coach has their best interests at heart. Y'all let me know in the comment section, did you agree? Did you agree on what he said? Let me know. Because that is something that was very powerful for him to make that statement, right? To make a statement like that, there has to be a level of distastefulness that you do not trust your own quarterback. I'm telling you, y'all, this is what we're doing. We're breaking this thing down. Now, let's get into it. Now, after Sean Payton has been blowing up on Russell Wilson, it kind of forced Sean Payton in a way to respond and to reveal his reasoning for explosive outbursts toward Russell Wilson on that field. Now, we're getting into this, right? They lost 42-17 to the Detroit Lions. Now, we're going to get into it right here. Then it says right here from Adam Schefter when he tweeted that Sean Payton will not be happy when he sees this replay. And I'm not going to play that because we don't need YouTube to do no type of copywriting over here. So we want to try to abide by the YouTube rules and policy as much as possible. Now, Sean Payton screamed at Russell Wilson after that particular drive. Now, there was a lot of commotion that was saying that a lot of people didn't know or didn't understand why he was ripping into Russell Wilson like that, and they didn't think it was a good look for the head coach, Sean Payton, to do that openly, right? Now, after the game, the Broncos head coach was peppered with questions about the outbursts post-game. This is what Sean Payton said. I was upset about the call. Simple as that. That's it. Now, he was further questioned on the matter, and he made it clear he didn't want to elaborate. He said, what I talked to Russell about is none of your business. What? What? So a reporter asks, can we, know what you was getting into him about and what you said to Russell Wilson? And then the coach said, what I talked to Russell about is none of your business. Now, Russell Wilson had said, because he was asked the same questions, and this is what Russell Wilson said. Now, remember what I said about Russell Wilson, class act. He said, we all want to score there, and that's our focus. We want a coach who is passionate. Let me tell y'all something, man. Let me tell y'all something. What Russell Wilson is doing there in that response, he's playing the long game. He's playing the long game. He is playing the political game at his finest. What he understands, what he has to understand is this right here. And I'm talking about Sean Payton. And then there's a lot of people. Let me tell y'all what's going on. Russell Wilson is showing you on where he's at mentally. He's showing you how to control your emotions at a very high level versus what Sean Payton did not do on a repetitive basis. See, if Russell Wilson was acting the way Sean Payton was acting, this is the privilege. Let me say this, man. This we're gonna get into it. This is what I say from a racial perspective. And I know some of my viewers are not going to like it when I bring race, but it's very important. I would be remiss if I didn't bring this up. Because what we have to point out is back to what Ryan Clark has said on his analysis of the situation of Sean Payton. and his rudeness and his disrespectfulness towards Russell Wilson. We have to get into the situation on Robert Griffin III when he point out the disrespectfulness of Sean Payton and the distastefulness that he had and how he imploded on him publicly and imploded on him behind the scenes. These are the things that we're talking about that I want to be able to say, because if Russell Wilson had ever responded back to Sean Payton with the same energy, how do you think that would have had, worked out for Russell Wilson? You see, Russell Wilson got another job. Russell Wilson is still going to get paid his millions of dollars, a bag, from the Denver Broncos. See, Russell Wilson understood that, you know what, y'all still got to pay me. I try my best, and one thing I don't want to do is fall into the trap where I'm going to stoop down to your level, because if I stoop down to your level, see, you're a white man. You're a white head coach that you probably have reins and open lines to be able to talk to me this way, because you probably got approval, whether it's from the GM, whether it's from the president, whether it's from the owner of the football team. And there's an agenda that I see that's going on, because you don't have my back and you don't support me, because you have shown me more than you even said with your own words. You disrespected me on several occasions, and obviously you don't care. So I have to understand and know how I have to play chess and not checkers. Did y'all understand that? Russell Wilson was playing chess and not checkers, because he was putting on an interview for his next job. He knew his time was up in Denver. He knew the moment Sean Payton came out disrespectful to him the first time, he understood what he had to do. He understood he had to control his emotion. He understood that he had control his anger, because if he would have responded, then he would have been labeled as an angry black man, an angry black quarterback. And he didn't want to hurt his chances from actually getting a job from the other teams in the NFL. Quite honestly, man, I respected Russell Wilson even more for this. We could learn a thing or two from Russell Wilson. The type of man that he is off the field, how he takes care of his family, and the type of man he is on the field. He goes about his business. He's always trying to make sure that he doesn't put himself in a bad position that hurts his image. We need more people like Russell Wilson. And we should appreciate someone like Russell Wilson, because to me, in my eyes, Russell Wilson is a class act. We not done, y'all. We coming in. We're closing in. But it was very important to bring that up. Now, this is the get along game. When you have someone like Sean Payton that's trying to play this psychological warfare, because he came out and claimed that he has a great relationship with Russell Wilson despite the outbursts. You see, this is when you have privilege, like this thug Sean Payton has. It was right before our eyes. He had the endorsement from somebody up top to act the way he acted. And like Ryan Clark had said, that he had picked the right one, because this could easily have went left if he would have had went at somebody else that was not Russell Wilson. And this is not a knock on Russell Wilson, but what Ryan Clark was saying was the truth, because everybody has different makeup. Everybody has different boundaries. Everybody has a line that if you cross that line, I'm going to do you something. If you cross that line, there's going to be some furniture moving. If you cross that line, we're going to have a discrepancy. That's what Bernie Mac used to say. Let me tell you something. If you keep it up, we're going to have a discrepancy from epic proportions. I miss my boy Bernie Mac, man. This is what Sean Payton said. He said that it's certainly in-game intensity. It was just a heat of the moment situation and all those things, but nothing more to add. It was disrespectful, Sean. It was rude. And how you displayed yourself and how you acted was in a thuggish way. And I didn't appreciate it. Ryan Clark didn't appreciate it. Robert Griffin III didn't appreciate it. Stephen A. Smith talked about it, didn't appreciate it. Keyshawn Johnson talked about it, didn't appreciate it. Skip Bayless talked about it, didn't appreciate it. Shannon Sharp talked about it, didn't appreciate it. Chad Ochocinco talked about it, didn't appreciate it. Now, I want to talk about this situation because this was a situation where this Broncos offensive line, Mike, on how he downplayed the Russell Wilson and Sean Payton sideline encounter. See, this is the BS that I'm talking about. Russell Wilson didn't have a chance, man. Let me repeat myself. Russell Wilson did not have a chance. Let's get into it. Now, this is what the offensive lineman had said, Mike McGlinchey. He said, I think it's being completely blown out of proportion. Things like that happen, especially in a humongous game for us with a lot on the line. Let me give you some pushback from that. Because if things like that happen, let me tell you something. You cannot, there's no way Mike McGlinchey can convince me that that was respectfulness that happened. And I know he didn't say that it was respectful in what Sean Payton did, but when you come out and you make a statement and said that it wasn't a big deal, it was a big deal. This is the leader of your football team. This is your quarterback, man. This is the guy that you are protecting every single game. So why you didn't put your offensive line skills in making sure you protect your quarterback, Mike? Let me just put this out here. If you was protecting Tom Brady, would you still would have made that statement? If you was protecting Aaron Rodgers, would you still would have made that statement? You understand where I'm going here, y'all? You understand where I'm going? This eats me up when you have jackasses like this that make statements like this, and then you want to try to marginalize and undervalue and underestimate what the leader of your team was going through. And you have the audacity to come out and say it wasn't a big deal. Nah, man, you sound like a dude that wanted him out as well. You sound like a dude that just on the back end that was backing up Sean Payton and enforcing and by agreeing to what Sean Payton had did to your own quarterback. Shame on you. Now, let's look at this other comment that he made. I think Russell Wilson and especially Sean Payton are two of the most competitive people that you'll ever be around. And all that is competitive fire and frustration of certain things that go wrong, not being on the same page or whatever it is. He went on to say Mike McGlinchey, the offensive lineman of Russell Wilson, to say that I don't think anybody in this locker room is looking at that as an issue. Are you kidding me? He said, nor should they, because I can't even count how many times I've gotten screamed at by a coach or frustrated because you're not doing your job to the right. Mistakes happen. You know what? Shame on this jackass. Shame on that jackass for making a statement like that publicly. How many times you've seen Tom Brady getting yelled at like that in a public setting? How many times have you seen Aaron Rodgers getting yelled like that in a public setting? How many times have you seen even Drew Brees, who was the former head coach, Sean Payton, had yelled at Drew Brees like that? Let me tell y'all something. You don't see the narrative that where I'm going here? See, it to me is black and white. To me, it's plain vanilla. To me, it is what it is. You can't sugarcoat this shit. You can't sugarcoat what I'm saying to y'all. I'm giving you in chronological order of the disrespectfulness that Sean Payton was doing against Russell Wilson since the first time he started coaching Russell Wilson in the game. And it wasn't right. It wasn't right at all. Now, this is where the outcome was coming on what Sean Payton wanted to do since the beginning. Sean Payton details a desperate reason for benching Russell Wilson amid contract speculations. You don't think that they understood that someone up in upper management that was really getting to Sean Payton and wanted Sean Payton to do what he wanted to do with this football team? You don't think someone gave him full reins? You don't think that Sean Payton was doing this because they didn't want to be stuck with paying him money if he played a certain amount of games in the season and he actually barred if he get an injury, you'll have to pay up? It was all about the money. It was all about that Sean Payton did not like Russell Wilson as his quarterback. It was all about that he was looking for any reason to get rid of this man. Now, Sean Payton went into detail about his decision to bench quarterback Russell Wilson as his team desperately clings to its slim playoff odds. Now, realize now, Russell Wilson is a Super Bowl quarterback. And everything that I have said to you thus far, you can just tell that this was just the conclusion of everything that he wanted to happen. Now, Sean Payton quickly, this is the epitome when a hit dog holler. This is what he said. It's not about the money with Wilson, but also it kind of is. That's his statement. So these are for all my people that's listening and watching me and trying to say that I'm coming up with something. These are the statements that came out of Sean Payton's mouth. He didn't support that man. He said that it's not about the money with Wilson, but also it kind of is. Come on, man. This was in regards to his decision to start Jarrett Stidham in Week 17 and bench Wilson. Payton told media members, "We're desperately trying to win. Sure, in our game today, there are economics and other things. But the number one thing is to get a spark offensively." Look what Sean Payton said. "I can't replace their entire offensive line. I can't bring in 5 new receivers." This man would do anything to rip up his own team. He ripped up his own team by any means necessary, and he didn't care. And this right here is the privilege that I'm talking about. So, Sean Payton, the heat is on. He says he blasts Russell Wilson narrative amid benching. Let's get into this one. Now, look what the head coach had to say in a comment in the post-game interview. He said, "This idea that he and I don't have a good relationship comes from people further away from our program. The further away people are from our program, the more they jump to conclusions. It is what it is." Hey, you got that right. It is what it is that you had an agenda and you want to make sure that you got out of that contract of Russell Wilson. And the fact of the matter, in NFL history, y'all was willing to eat up $85 million, I think was the number. 85. Y'all was willing to give to Russell Wilson $85 million to get rid of his ass. That's sad. It's pathetic. It's disrespectful. But listen, y'all. Listen, this is the caveat. You see how Russell Wilson remained a class act? How many times did you see on camera or in an interview where he tried to just really rip up Sean Payton? What mattered to Russell Wilson was his image, and he understood the assignment that I'm not going to let you get me to act out of character so it can mess up my next job that I want to make sure that I have. And this is why he's in line with signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now let's listen to this former NFL MVP on what he said about the relationship between Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. Now, I understand that there were expectations to be done when you bring in Russell Wilson and he signed the contract, because see, what this really is all about is that it's this big contract that he signed, that the Denver Broncos agreed to pay him 5 years, $245 million contract extension. And then 2 seasons later, the Broncos, where they hired Sean Payton, and what it appeared to me, as it says in this article right here, is that Sean Payton had lost faith in the veteran quarterback, in your Super Bowl winning quarterback, and you had an agenda to tear him down game by game until you benched him. This is what former NFL MVP Matt Ryan said on Russell Wilson. He said, "Russ can still play. In my opinion, there's no doubt about that. But just from the decision that they made towards the end of the season, I think it's a hard relationship to repair between Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. Now, to me, as I was reading that and I was listening at the same time, that's a political way in saying that Sean Payton effed up. That's another way or a nice way to say that there's no way that Russell Wilson can come back from this. He's a man. A man can only take but so much. Listen to me again. A man can only take so much disrespect. That was the icing on the cake when you benched a man and you still had an opportunity to make it into the playoffs and you benched him. That was disrespectful. And it wasn't warranted at all. Man. Now, Sean Payton went into a timeline to the reasoning why he came up with the Russell Wilson decision, right? And what I'm seeing is that Sean Payton and he had several other people that co-signed to what he was doing. Is what I said from the beginning is that there was an agenda made for him to get another quarterback who he trusted, who he wanted to mold to his liking to be the leader and the face of this team. We already know the quarterback going to be white. We all know that the quarterback is going to be someone similar to Drew Brees. We all know that the writings was on the wall because of his thuggish behavior on how he was treating Russell Wilson. Y'all let me know in the comment section what y'all think about the situation and what happened between Russell Wilson and Sean Payton after the Broncos had cut him. Have y'all ever heard the analogy for what the enemy will try to do for your harm, God will turn it around for your good? I believe this is a good analogy from right there from this story. It is. It really is. I think at the end of the day, Sean Payton had an agenda, and I applaud how Russell Wilson handled the whole situation. As I said at the top of the hour, man, I have nothing but respect on how Russell Wilson handled the whole situation. I believe he's a class act, and I believe he understood the assignment that he wanted to make sure that he doesn't put himself in a negative situation. And I think we all can agree on that, because if it was Russell Wilson that was acting the way he was acting, it would have been a totally different story. But how do y'all like Russell Wilson going to Pittsburgh? I really like that. I really like that. Him having an opportunity to start over with the new team, him having the opportunity of having a head coach that believes in him And I like Coach Tomlin because I know Coach Tomlin is going to put Russell Wilson in the best position to win. And that's a great feeling. That is a great feeling to have when you have an organization, and more importantly, when you have a coach that believes in you. Now let's get into it. Now there's this article that came out. Will the Steelers fans put up with Russell Wilson's image? You see the narrative? You see the narrative here that they're trying to paint of Russell Wilson? Trust me, if there was a problem with Russell Wilson, guess what? There's no way in hell Mike Tomlin will want this man on his football team. Because one thing we do know about Coach Mike Tomlin, that he's a man of character and integrity. Now, the ex-Denver Broncos quarterback, as it says in this article, that Russell Wilson has decided to take his talent to Pittsburgh. Moreover, some analysis, put some name on him, are concerned with Wilson's personality fit on the Steelers. Are you kidding me? Concern. Who are these analysts? Attach your name to it. Now, here we go. Ryan Russillo joined the Bill Simmons podcast to discuss his worries about Wilson's image. This is what Ryan said. Here's what I say about the personality part of it. I've got to know what I'm getting. Am I getting humbled, Russell Wilson? Like, can he just be a slightly normal guy? I don't know if he's capable of doing it. He went on to add to say that it's not bet I want to make. It's not a bet I want to make. So I kind of want to see what happens for him in Pittsburgh. Now, the podcast host believes that Russell Wilson's exaggerated marketing of himself might not bode well on his new team. Listen, man. In my closing, listen, y'all. I'm a Russell Wilson fan. I believe Russell Wilson has been given a raw deal. I believe there was an agenda against him since day one with Sean Payton and him. And even how he didn't even have the respect of his teammates in Denver. You have to put talent around Russell Wilson. You have to look at his strong points, and you got to come up with schemes to strengthen up his strong points that you hope that will overcome any of his weaknesses. This is how you make your quarterback better. This is how you empower your leader of your football team, who's an extension of the head coach, which is the quarterback of your team. And for me, I respect Russell Wilson. I respect not just what he does on the field, but how he's able to control his emotions on the field. It's no shock to me as the reason why he's a Super Bowl quarterback. You see how he was able to handle adversity even when his own head coach didn't believe in him. As I said earlier, we all can learn a thing or two from Russell Wilson, how to control your emotions when you're dealing with somebody that don't even believe in you. You always understand that this is a game of chess and not checkers. I appreciate everyone, man. Y'all can go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Royal Figures. I hope that you enjoyed this timeline, this chronological timeline of my analysis of the relationship between Russell Wilson and Sean Payton, and just my belief system. It's my belief system. And at the end of the day, man, y'all already know my motto, man. Keep your head on the swivel. Make sure that you understand that your association times your environment will always equal a positive or negative influence. At the end of the day, man, if y'all want to support even more on my YouTube channel, y'all can connect to my Royal Figures YouTube store that is on my channel. I have a trailer video at the top where you can click on and go to my website directly, or you can click on my YouTube store. You can go to my website directly at www.royalfigures.org. And I have some awesome merch, man, that was Royal Figures is all about: uplifting, motivational, working out, man, having that proper mindset, man, to be able to take on, any challenge and be able to rise above your challenges, because you will never give up until you achieve your goals. Until next time.